Welcome back to Her Nature, where we talk about living life that feels true to you. Today, we are talking about something that's in my nature, which is both being a diva and a girly pop and being kind of a boss ass bitch. And we'll break down masculine and feminine in business and how to balance out both. Being ambitious as a woman is really funny because you want to turn your creativity and your momentum for life into income and make something through work. But you definitely don't want to turn into one of those women who is so masculine where she's like stone cold and obviously doesn't have a lot of joy in her life. I have had a lot of bosses, especially female bosses that are much older than me, who had like this armor of professionalism on. And I feel like they thought it was a form of like respectfulness and professionalism, but it actually just took away all the humanity in the work that we were doing. And being somebody who has been very young in high up positions, I have had to like navigate how to do both effectively. And have really learned that my femininity, my joy for life, my creativity is my superpower. That is my magnetism that I can bring and actually make a ton of money off of because I'm not putting myself in this box of like having a blazer on and being perfect 9 to 5. When you're young and trying to prove yourself in business, there is so much pressure, especially as a woman. I remember when I was 21, I got my first like actual director job, and I had so many eyes rolled my direction. And I just had this pressure to like be super hyper professional, hyper vigilant, and like productive and so serious. But it actually came off super ingenuine because I was literally 21. I felt like I had to overwork everyone to prove myself. And I think that it kind of did the opposite effect where it seemed like I was trying really hard because I was. And it became kind of embarrassing because I identified as somebody who worked my tail off. And then I have put all of my identity and my personality into being somebody who works a ton. When I had older bosses that would act standoffish towards me and just kind of harden. I remember this one boss, I would try to hug her all the time when we had like a successful event, and she would not take it. Like she had a lot of armor up, and I used to think, oh, they're just jealous of me. They see a young, sparky girl who's very passionate and they can't handle it because that was them when they were younger. And now they've seen some shit, they've been through life, and they hate themselves. And so they're trying to bring me down. And although I think that part of that is true, they were jealous of seeing their younger self in me. And I'm going to do a whole separate episode on that later. I think separately, they saw through it. They know what it is. It is me overcompensating and working so hard to work my way into a position where in reality, I wouldn't have gotten that position and that role if it wasn't meant to be and if I didn't deserve it and have something to offer. It was all cutesy and fun to be overworking until I was in a corporate job, and then I decided to start my own business. I was like, fuck this. I cannot do this. I can't work for these Karens anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. And it got kind of ugly. I was totally overworking because I was trying to move into doing my own thing. I was waking up at like 4 or 5 in the morning, doing my own business stuff, building my marketing agency from scratch. And then at 9 a.m., I would clock into my 9 to 5, use my lunch break to focus back on my own business. And then once I got off at 5 of my corporate job, I would literally work on my own business until who knows when. Sometimes me and my business partner, when we were starting this, would have meetings that started at 5 and they would go till like midnight because we were just planning what we wanted this to look like. And it took so much work. I was working like a man, and we're not supposed to as ladies. And I just felt like if I even softened a little bit, I would lose all this momentum and lose the credibility and excitement. And maybe my business wouldn't take off, or maybe I would not have this opportunity again. And once I decided to go all in on my business, I was like, if I'm going to do this, I am going to go balls to the wall and do it differently. I'm going to set a different example. I'm going to set different standards, like in communication with my clients, where I'm actually seeing them as people who care about the business that they're doing, and me being a way to support them instead of just being like this stuffy corporate marketing person. There's this pressure on women to toughen up, and we're taught that to be respected, we need to be like sharp, super unbothered. We need to be working all the time, and everything needs to be really fast. But I think that that's kind of overdone. Anybody can be a corporate baddie and do the basic thing of working 9 to 5 and grinding. But when you operate from that energy, it's taking away from your creativity and from your intuition. And I remember there were so many projects where I was a part of where I wanted to put a lot more strategic thought into it and a lot more creativity. But because the timelines in my corporate gig were so fast and we had to turn things around in such a like black and white corporate way, it limited me from actually being able to do that. So I was like, I'm going to do this on my own, and I'm going to do it in a way that is value focused and something that's in alignment with my personality and the way that I want to create in the world. Okay, so let's break down masculine and feminine in business and kind of talk about both of them and how we can balance them out. So, masculine energy is working like a man, it's structure, hitting deadlines, being very strategic, having very firm boundaries, doing what you want, what is financially beneficial for you, and like executing things in a way that is very clear cut. Having masculinity in business is crucial because that's how we make money. That's how we grow our business and we're able to help serve people. And so it's not about removing masculinity in your business. It's about embracing it and balancing it with the feminine components that help with longevity and like scalability as you continue to grow. And then there's the feminine side of business, which is the best. It's being intuitive. It's having real conversations with people, and like recognizing what do they really want? What am I good at? How can we work together to meet both of our goals? It's really based on connection and receiving and just kind of having like a shared vision together and creating something that is super magnetic and abundant. And I really do think that a healthy business should embrace both. In order to have an aligned, successful business, you really need to weave both together. Because I see a bunch of businesses that are usually ran by men where they're just trying to like find the target audience to sell the like product, and their businesses crash and burn because there's no heart in it. It needs to be a little bit of both. It can't be all heart. I've seen a lot of businesses go bankrupt because it's all just like vision and inspiration and excitement. But it also can't just be finding a niche market and like targeting people. People respond to brands that are value oriented. And so creating something that's both is very healthy and can actually make your business last long term. I just feel like in the past, I've been more masculine in business because that's what gets rewarded by society. It's almost like we're trying to show women that you can't do well in business if you aren't competitive and cutthroat. And that's not true. I feel like the more feminine that I get in business, the more that I hire people based on my intuition and how they respond with our team, the better that we grow as a business and the better that I'm able to connect to the work that I'm doing. I feel like every time that I'm overdoing it and in my masculine and trying to just like make more sales, usually those things don't go well. The projects that I take on, the people that I work with, or like the new services that I offer, they tend to get kind of stifled and dry and then eventually break off. And it's like a ton of time and energy wasted that feels like a failure, even though it's part of growing. I really do feel like when you're in your feminine and embracing projects and everything is aligned and like heart led, it's hard to look back and see anything as a failure because you're having fun and enjoying it. So, here are some signs that you might be too in your masculine and overdoing this hustle energy. If you're working nonstop, if your work doesn't feel good, Of course, there's parts of work that don't feel fun all the time. That's part of working. But like overall, if you just hate showing up to work every day and things feel uninspired and you're forcing projects, if you're micromanaging everything and you feel like everything needs to be done by you and you can't trust anybody on your team, if you resent your clients or the people that you work with and you're losing your spark, these are things that we all have felt. But again, you will burn out if you continue to work in this hypermasculine space as a woman. We're not meant to. We are meant to be givers and supporters as women and doing work that emotionally makes us feel safe and excited and aligned. And so if you're in a place long term where that isn't what's happening, it's not in your nature to be that way, and something needs to change. Being more soft in business has helped me in a lot of ways. Charging more and working with less clients, but the clients that I work with, I am obsessed with, and they see the value in the work that I do. And I'm really passionate and excited about what we're creating together. Slowing down is a big piece of it, like being able to have the capacity in my day to be intentional about what I'm creating instead of just rushing through tasks. And then like hiring a team that I trust and love and taking time to hire, scaling in a way that is slow but steady is something that is very important to be able to retain the value in what I'm doing. And then just having like this go with the flow attitude. Like if I hire somebody and then they don't work out, I'll find somebody better or more aligned. If a client doesn't want to work with us anymore, it's okay. I understand. I'm not forcing as I once did in the beginning when I was like desperate for business. I'm not settling for clients or team members or working with anyone or doing any project that doesn't feel like I'm going to do a great job at it and I'm going to feel happy doing it. I think when you focus on making your work really powerful and magnetic, instead of chasing new avenues of how to make money in business, just focusing on what you're actually doing. So, like if you're a hairdresser, instead of constantly posting, trying to get leads and stressing out about scaling your business, it's like focus on developing your craft. Be the best hairstylist in your area. And then people will naturally come to you and you'll retain clients. Let your work speak for itself. When your craft is so good that it kind of sells itself for you, you will not have to over explain your pricing. You're not going to have to talk somebody into working with you. You'll have a waiting list. Your energy and the way that you do your work matters so much more than like what you wear and the way that you communicate and being professional. When I started working with clients where I could be myself around them, like cuss in front of them, in a tasteful way and wear what I felt comfortable in. And I focused so much on the work that I was doing that the way that I showed up could be so authentic. They actually loved that way more. I've noticed I've connected with my clients in such a more human way because we both understand the value of what we're doing and we do have a human connection and a relationship that goes beyond just what we're doing together. There is a lot of transparency and authenticity, and there's space when things aren't working in the work that we're doing. We're able to communicate effectively and then come up with like solutions for that and move forward together. The truth is, people buy from people who they feel good around. So if you have a grocery store or you're a real estate agent, whatever it is, you want to make sure that your interactions with your clients or your customers is happy and fun and simple and easy. It is possible to balance boundaries and professionalism with being warm and a fun person and actually having a fucking personality. I honestly feel like the best business people are people who are totally confident in who they are. And they're oftentimes more casual, more regulated. They have confidence in what they're bringing to the table. When it's always the people like the hairdresser who's like in stilettos and trying to keep things so professional about your cut, where they're kind of overcompensating. And I feel like I don't trust them as much because they seem like they're trying so hard. Something that really helps with this for me as a woman in business is making sure that my needs are met outside of the office, making sure that I am working out, I'm eating healthy, I'm taking time to focus on family and my social circles and investing in self care so that I can be as present and less stressed as I can when I show up for my clients. Your best ideas and your creativity does not come from panic mode. When your nervous system is regulated, you're just better to hang out with, you create better, and your problem solving is better. There's a ton of data by Harvard that shows that when you're in a stressed state, your problem solving drops down to 30% less than what it is when you are feeling regulated. So imagine how that can impact your work. So some tips that I have for embracing your feminine in business is charging more, working less. It seems counterintuitive, but I swear it really helps attract the right type of client. So like saying no to clients that you don't want to work with instead of taking everything on, trusting your team, outsourcing your tasks, getting a space outside of where you live. And maybe it's not an office space, it could be simply a separate room in your house, but a separate area where you can separate your life outside of work from when you're fully locked in. And the main thing is like just alignment and prioritizing that above everything, not being so urgent about everything and really being intentional, slowing down and creating something that you're proud of. The goal is not to be the most exhausted person in the room. I used to really think that if I was the person who stayed the latest, I would show up first. I'd respond to people's emails like within 5 minutes. It's not very attractive and it's not something to be proud of. Being the most aligned is. I remember when I was doing this, I was trying so hard in my corporate job to impress my bosses. And it got to a point where they were expecting me to reply to an email within a half hour. And so at a certain point, I was getting emails at 5 a.m. And if I didn't reply within a half hour, they would call me and say, "Are you okay? What's happening? Why haven't you responded to this?" Because that's the example that I set, that I would be willing to break my boundary of the 9 to 5 and prioritize work over my own mental health, over my family, over everything else, to where I set an expectation that I couldn't uphold long term. If you've been feeling burnt out or like you're jeopardizing your boundaries, know that it's not your fault. It's not you being weak. This is what the world does to us. It tells us the harder that we work, the more successful we'll be. But it doesn't tell us as women that that's not sustainable and that's not truly intentional work that will make us feel happy long term. And being in survival mode is not in our nature. It's not healthy for us. And that is the main priority over money or business growth or anything. You can really hustle in the beginning of starting a business, but long term, that does not last. And so finding a way to like trust yourself, focus on your craft, and just let your energy and what you offer work for you. You will become irresistible to clients when you lock in on what you do and make it the absolute best that you can. So this is your reminder that it is not a bad thing to be a professional woman. It is fun. I love the work that I do and I can do both. And that is something that has been so freeing for me in my own business, is creating my own expectation of how I interact with my team and my clients, and running my life in a way that feels true to me and my nature and still feeling like myself in it, and then being able to share that with others. It's actually inspired my team a lot and clients to be able to show them that this is not the expectation that we're going to be replying to emails in 5 minutes. There is a new world that we're living in where we as entrepreneurs get to set the standard and hold that line. And it can be super fulfilling and honor the calling that we have to do good work. Thanks so much for listening. I love being a business owner. And I really feel like it's a calling that God put on my heart to help serve my community. It has been just such a long journey being a young professional, trying to figure out, how do I do this in a way where I don't crash out? I do feel like this is the new frontier of success in business, and you can do both. It is not sustainable to work in the way that we've been working as women it's so new for us to be working like this in general. And so, by applying some of these things, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're working for somebody else, it is taking a hold of your reality and your future and demanding something that is aligned and sustainable for your health and for the betterment of our world. We deserve good people doing good, passionate work. If this meant something to you, I'd love to hear about it. I'm on Instagram at hiking is hot, and I love to talk about business. So hit me up, and thank you so much for listening.